Welcome, everyone, to the sixth episode of the Out of the Ground podcast. Very exciting news to share at the outset, which is that India has won the four test series at home with England uh, by winning the third test match. So we're up 3-1 and we have qualified for the World Test Championship, which is incredibly exciting news. And I'm sure we'll have some thoughts to share on that as well. But yeah, starting off with a great victory for Team India. Bobo?
Yeah, yeah, our predictions came right. So we predicted that the game will get over in 3 days. We got it bang on. We also predicted India will win. Probably not a very hard prediction to make after the previous two test matches, but it was good that we managed to get that right. Just shows off that our cricket skills are now developing, at least for me, because I was not big into cricket then. So I'll start
Cricket
by
cricket prediction skills, you mean? Our cricket skills are still pretty abysmal, but I think our cricket prediction
yeah.
skills are maybe getting a little better as we go on. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, no, so I wanted to start by maybe talking about what were the two defining moments of the test match for me. So for me, there were really like two times when I think the tide really turned in India's favor. The first time was when England had their batting collapse because it was not really a pitch where a 200 something was a score that would really get you the win. So for me, that was really the first part, and the second one was the partnership between Rishabh, Pant, and Washington Sundar, where I really felt that they really managed to bring back India into the game, and both of them, we had high hopes from them from what they did in Australia, but they really lived up to their hopes. So what were your thoughts on these two particular aspects of the match?
Yeah, I think those were definitely the two sort of pivotal moments as far as the match goes. I mean, I think the batting collapse that England had at the beginning, we were all kind of expecting just because the batting had been so abysmal against the spinners over the first three test matches. Well, let's say over the second and the third test match. So, I mean, we have kind of been a little bit desensitized to an English as well as an Indian for that matter batting collapse just because there have not not been any high scoring matches since the first test. So yeah, I mean, I think it definitely there definitely was a collapse there. Again, like I was reading a statistic about how the of the top 10 lowest England scores in India ever, the top five have come in this series. So you that gives you an idea of like just how sort of difficult it has been to bat on these surfaces. And the spinners again kind of running the show there. Four wickets for Akshar, three for Ashwin, and just kind of running through them for 205 runs. And we were already batting by the end of that day.
Any particular batsman on the England side that particularly disappointed you in this one? Maybe
I mean,
Pesto?
I think Bairstow's definitely kind of the one to get called out. Like he's gotten like something
Yep.
like six ducks in his last or some crazy statistic. Like at least half of his appearances have ended in ducks in the last eight or so test matches against India, and
Yeah.
that's just like we have been seeing Bairstow. I'm familiar with Bairstow mostly because of his appearances in the IPL.
Mhm.
So just kind of know him as this attacking batsman who plays up the order with Warner very effectively for the Sunrisers Hyderabad. So just completely blown away by how ineffective he's been
Yep.
throughout the series really, and not sure what the future holds. Like I've been listening to a lot of English commentators and podcasters and broadcasters, and that's one of the big question marks for them. Like Bairstow's future in English Test cricket is
Mhm.
just kind of Bairstow, and I think Bairstow and Bess have been the two that are kind
Right.
of the biggest question marks for the English going forward.
Yeah. So we'll obviously talk about Best in detail because that was maybe one of the predictions that maybe didn't come across as well as we had hoped. But for Besto, I do think that there's also an element of the kind of balls that he got out and kind of shots that he was trying to
Yeah,
hit when he
yeah,
got out, right? Because none of those were really balls that were remarkable, really, and he mainly got out because of his shot selection. So that again goes on to show
yeah,
that
yeah,
it's not a matter of it's not a matter of the pitch or how he was really trying to go after the ball, but maybe
Yeah.
more a matter of the skill which he's lacking, despite being such a good batsman in IPL. I think maybe this is a format that he's not really suited for.
Yeah, possibly. And I mean, also, like, he did score a few runs in the first innings. He made the
Yeah.
28, but then just that duck in the second innings again, just getting caught out and like contributing to that much more sort of incendiary collapse in the second innings, leading to that big innings defeat. Again, I think that's worth impressing as well, that it was not another, but like the first really innings defeat of this match. India has kind of gone strength to strength in the series.
Yep.
Really, after the first match, like, winning the second one by like 317 runs, winning
Hmm.
the fourth. So that was the second match. Third one by 10 wickets, and then this fourth one by an innings, which is,
Yeah.
to inflict an innings defeat is definitely a bit of a big deal. So yeah, I think those two were definitely like the sort of negatives for England that they're sort of taking away from here. I think the other one is Ollie Pope, like, right, like he has really not, like, we came in to the series hearing these wonderful paeans that the English were sort of, they were so excited about Ollie Pope, and just hasn't really come off
Yeah.
in any significant manner.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's maybe change gears a little bit and talk about India's batting in their
Yep.
first innings, or probably the only innings they played, and how uh, they really got off to a shaky start, right? We didn't really get a lot of runs from the top, except maybe 49 that Rohit Sharma got. What
Yeah.
were your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rohit Sharma for me is the player of the series. I know it was given to Ashwin, but I think that, and taking nothing away from Ashwin, it's been an amazing series for him. It was an amazing series for Akshar, but I think Rohit really, really stuck it out there. Like, I think he was definitely the pick of the batsman for me on either side. Like, in his 49 off of 144 balls, he basically did what Pujara did in that Gabba Test match, right? Like, he
Yeah.
stood there and he just kept batting and kept defending and kept going and just tired out all of their bowlers, right? Like, they obviously, like, again, where it's that whole thing where England is just being flummoxed by how the pitches are being, because like they seem to have again made a tactical mistake in selecting an additional batsman and then getting Dom Bess in there and just playing Jimmy Anderson and depending on Ben Stokes. Like, Anderson and Stokes were just smoked, like, right, they put everything out there, and all credit to them, especially Stokes, because he was just kept going, like
Yeah.
bowled something like 28 overs or something like that, and he was just tired at that point, right? Like, and so to their credit, like, and especially to Rohit's credit, like, he tired out the bowlers, which sort of heralded the coming innings that Pant and Sundar played. Very disappointed for Sundar to not get that 100, but writing was already on the wall at that point.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that Rohit Sharma should have been the man of the series, because when you look at maybe the statistics, the numbers, you might not feel that he really had that kind of a performance. But when you think about what really changed the tide for India in this Test series, it was
Yeah,
really that second innings, sorry, the second Test match, 100 something that Rohit Sharma got on a pitch
160.
which a lot of people consider to be almost impossible to bat on. Maybe not as bad as the Ahmedabad pitch that was considered to be even worse, but still that was a difficult pitch because England did not really get a lot of runs on that pitch. And really, for Rohit Sharma to get that get those runs in, made a huge difference to how this Test match turned in India's favor, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's Test cricket, right? Like, he's like a master. Like, this is what Test cricket is all about. It's about standing there. It's about not worrying about the run rate. It's
Hmm.
about tiring the bowlers out so that even if you're not able to like make the most of all the work you do up front, especially at the beginning of the day, the batsmen who come later in the day can capitalize on it and take it somewhere. And it's easy to say that, but like. That's where that, and you have to give, it's easy to say that they should have made the most of that situation, but the fact that they actually came in and did is also hugely to their credit, to both Pant and Sundar, right? Like, they made the
Absolutely.
most of the situation and made those like, I'm just going to call both of those hundreds, but like
Yeah.
big scores is the point.
Yeah, really. I mean, nothing taking away from the two of them. Absolutely, what really gave the game to India was their innings, and Rishabh Pant, especially because you could have wondered the fact that he, after his performance in Australia, after his performance in India, uh, was he like, was he really getting hyped up about his performance and was that really going to affect his game. But clearly, I mean, he did what he does best, which is he really stood there and hit the balls out of the ground and really got those runs. And Washington Sundar was a great support,
Yeah,
because if it
I
wasn't for Washington Sundar, I don't think Rishabh Pant could have done what he did.
I completely agree with that, but I do want to give Pant more credit than that because I think he played like he there were two aspects to his innings, two parts to his innings, right? The first half was just complete like was a classic test innings, standing there, hitting the ball. Like, you would see that 101 and 118, and that would indicate to you that maybe it was one of those Pant innings where he came and started hitting the ball from the go and like made his 100. But that's really not what it was like at all. It was very measured at the beginning, right?
Yeah,
Like played balls on their merit, but once he really got his eye in there, and once the bowlers were properly tired, that's when he capitalized and like made like basically made the majority of those runs. In the later part of his innings, just hitting the ball hard and knowing how it was playing, and like just had a much better handle once he had spent all that time on the crease.
yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, I think this is the new Pant, right? Because what we also saw towards the later test matches in Australia was that yes, he is still going to hit the shots, but he's going to do it in a very measured way. He's going to look at the ball. He's going to do a very calculated job at it. And that's the wonderful thing that he's managed to do, which is really adapt his game to the test matches conditions.
Yeah,
And even though he has that explosive style of hitting the ball, he does know when to let go and when to be a bit more defensive, which is what he's managed to do amazingly well.
totally. I'm here for this new Pant. I mean, Pant is, I think, not since Gilchrist has there been a wicketkeeper batsman who has hit a century in England, Australia, and India.
Hmm.
And now there's Pant, and it's really, really exciting for us. And I think that this might make the case for him to return to white ball cricket because, just the way that he's been playing, like when someone is that in that sort of form, and with all his improvements with the gloves, I would say that he is making a really strong case. And I mean, that's a hard team to get into, right? Like you've got KL Rahul who can keep, and that just it's just going to be a little bit more difficult for him to
Yeah,
make the case to be. But the advantage he has is he's a solid middle order player. Obviously, Rahul plays up top, so that will hold him, will just make him a little bit more bankable there as well, as long as he can make the case for it and keep giving performances. I think he's going to be one of those all format cricketers for us, for
yeah,
India.
absolutely. And again, I think if what's really challenging for me now is trying to think about when all of the players who were injured. For example, you had
Yeah,
Jadeja, and then you have okay, not necessarily injured, but Bumrah was also not playing the last match, and he's going to be out for some time. But then when all those players are back, who's going to lose their spot, right? It's a very difficult one because Washington, so that the way he's played,
yeah.
I find it very hard to imagine him not being a part of the test squad when Jadeja's back.
It's a really, really good problem to have, but also going to be a hard problem. I think that people like saying it's a good problem to have, and it is, but
Hmm.
it also creates a lot of pressure because think about it, right? Like people who are in the team are constantly sort of having other people sort of nipping at the. I mean, if it's healthy competition, that's good,
Yeah,
but a Shubman Gill or a KL Rahul knows that there's like three other people, or rather Shubman Gill for tests and KL Rahul for like for one day internationals, right? Like and just generally limited over. They're like they can never be sure that their position is sort of set in the team because there's also a Mayank Agarwal, there's also a Shikhar Dhawan, there's also a Prithvi Shaw. So there's like all of these people vying for those spots, and it's good in a way because you're pressured to like. In the sense that we have a lot of backup options, but also just the pressure of performing will definitely be there. It's going to be a test of nerves as much as skill because
hmm,
you have to be able to like get out there and say that I'm going to put my best performance forward regardless of who else is sitting in the ranks waiting to like sort of take my
yeah.
position.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think also one thing which maybe the team has learned a little bit is to give the players a little more chance, right? Because when you look at the previous match, Washington Sundar did not really have a memorable performance because he didn't get a chance really to perform, right? And if you just look at the statistics of this match, you could just argue that maybe they might replace him with Kuldeep Yadav because Kuldeep Yadav may be able to give a better performance, but they decided to keep him, and that really paid off because Washington Sundar had showed in Australia and also previously that he can really do a good job both with the ball and the bat. And in this match, he just proved that. Yeah, I mean, he started cricket as a batsman, and he really showed that he can really bat even down the order.
Totally agreed. Yeah, that
Yeah.
the I think agree with everything you've said. And then the collapse at the end as well for the English, I guess, was,
Yeah.
if anything, almost expected. Like, and sort of symmetric and poetic, and Ashwin getting fifer and Akshar getting a fifer. So yeah, like, just kind of ran through them at the end, and it just kind of solidified that victory that India was definitely at that point looking to have. And we're in the World Test Championship now. Any thoughts on that? On the that match that we're going to be playing with New Zealand? Apparently, in Southampton is where they've decided to actually hold the World
Oh,
Test
it's not at
Championship
Lords
final.
anymore. I thought it was Lords.
No, it's no. For whatever reason, they decided they're going to do it. There were some security concerns or COVID thing that I'm not entirely sure about, but it's gonna. The BCCI as well as ICC has confirmed that the final will be at Southampton.
Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to that one. I just think India will need to think a bit about the squad that they take to this match because it's not going to be like Indian pitches, which you give you a lot of turn for the spin bowlers, and it's going to be a very different environment. So while this team really did well in India, I think they'll have to think about some changes, especially with the bowling, and whether they need to really have three spinners or maybe just have two and have more pace bowlers. So it'll be an interesting contest. Because New Zealand is really one of those test sides that play very well, especially because the conditions for them won't be as alien or as different from home conditions as it will be for India. But it'll be an interesting contest nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm kind of bearish on India's chances of winning that final just because of the swing bowling attack that New Zealand has. It's almost tailor-made conditions for them, right? English conditions are like, just amazing for swing bowling, and the swing bowling attack they have with Bolt and Saudi, and then with a few other, like, there's a bunch of other really really good fast bowlers that they're working with over there. So I think
Mhm.
that it's just gonna be. I think we'll probably have a much larger conversation and maybe do hopefully a preview of that match closer to the time. But I think that I have some concerns about what we're going to be doing over there. Again, we are probably going to have a pretty solid pace attack as well to go with our batting. So I think it might come down to who can play the bowling a little bit better. I
Yeah.
suspect. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the test match?
The India New Zealand, you mean?
No, the one that just concluded the India
Okay.
England test.
No, I think overall we've discussed. I mean, it was a very good comeback for India, and despite all of the controversy around the pitches and everything, eventually I think everyone agreed to the fact that India was the better team and they deserved to
Yeah.
win. So there was no doubt about that. And yeah, I look forward to the rest of the cricket that India will be playing versus England.
Yeah. And I think that almost universally everyone agrees that this last pitch was definitely much more closer to a regulation quote unquote test match pitch. We went into this last time, so not necessary to litigate the whole pitch situation again. But I think that this was a pretty
Yeah.
instrument. Like, there's been some argument about how demotivated and just completely burnt the English players were after those two test matches in between. That
Mhm.
there was really not much hope for them in this match, but say what you will, it was a pretty solid victory innings defeat. Again, I think the margins may have been a little different potentially if the pitches had been different for some of these test matches, but overall India, I think it's very hard to argue that against that India is the better team as things stand. Cool.
Yeah.
Do we How about looking forward then? We've got five T20s
Mhm.
and then three ODIs before the IPL starts in early April. So your thoughts on sort of what sort of team should India be fielding?
Yeah. So for me, I think India need to come with a sorry, with a completely different outlook with this T20 because yes, they managed to win very comprehensively against England, but at the same time, England T20 side is a different animal versus the test side, so they need to really understand what are the weaknesses that India can exploit. For me, for India, I mean, I'm really hoping for three players to really shine. One is definitely Surya Kumar Yadav, because he's going to get a chance this time, probably for the first time ever, to play T20
Yeah,
cricket. So that's going to be a really, really interesting one for me. The second person I'm really looking forward to from the Indian cricket side is going to be KL Rahul, because he's like our probably the best T20 batsman, you could argue though. But I feel he's one of the best T20 batsmen that is there at the moment, and T20 is really the format for him. We've seen him deliver in the IPL, we've seen him deliver in the past in T20 for India, so this is really going to be like his format. And The third person that I'm really looking forward to is Hardik Pandya, just because again he's similar to KL Rahul. He also really shines in this format of the game. Yes, he can still play one day international, and he can probably also play test if needed, but T20 is really tailor made for him. So these are the three players for me. I'm really looking forward to.
cool. So just in terms of team composition, real quick, I think Virat has already confirmed that Rohit and KL will open.
Okay.
So Rohit and KL Rahul open. Virat at number three. Surya Kumar Yadav at number four, or do you go with Shreyas Iyer?
I would go with Surya Kumar Yadav, because I think he's still able to deliver those runs early on, while I think
Okay.
Shreyas Iyer is better to give you a little bit more stability later on.
Okay. So Surya Kumar Yadav at number four. I'm assuming you play Hardik Pandya at number five. Right?
Depending on the need of the hour. So if we really need runs fairly quickly, play Hardik Pandya. If we lose early wickets and we really need someone to handle the game, maybe Shreyas Iyer is a better bet.
Oh,
So it really depends
so
on the stage.
you're still playing Shreyas Iyer, then you're saying.
Oh yeah, I think it's
Okay.
worth having, unless we run out of batsmen and then or we have too many batsmen, we need to get rid of one. I think Shreyas Iyer and Sky can both play.
Okay. So then that changes things a little bit, right? So you open with KL and Rohit. You have Kohli. You have Surya Kumar Yadav. You have Iyer, and then you say you have Pandya. So that's six. Then Pant at number
Yeah.
seven as the keeper. Right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're playing Pant over Ishan Kishan.
Oh yeah, Panto
Yeah,
version.
okay. So Punt's playing, that leaves us with four slots, right? And so then the question is, do you play Washington Sundar as your spinner or Yuzvendra Chahal as your spinner, right?
I would go for Yuzvendra Chahal for the reason that you already have a lot of batting, and Washington Sundar would have been a good bet if you had too much batting and you needed someone. Sorry, if you had little batting and then you needed someone who can be an all rounder. I think in this case you don't need an all rounder if you have all these batsmen. But if
Okay.
you cut one down, then maybe Sundar could
Okay.
play.
I was gonna say Yuzi, but I think based on sorry, I was gonna say Washi, but you just changed my mind by that argument. So yeah, that makes sense. So we say that we will play Yuzvendra Chahal, and then that leaves you with the three bowlers, which I'm going to assume will be Natarajan,
Hmm.
Saini, and Bhuvi, right? And you don't play Shardul Thakur or Deepak Chahar for now, but they may come in
Yeah,
later in some subsequent matches. Okay, now that makes a lot of sense. I think the one change I might potentially make is drop Shreyas Iyer and play Washi as well, so
yeah,
that you have Washi and Yuzi both. But that could go either way. But I think I definitely play. You definitely play Bhuvneshwar Kumar if he's fit and Natarajan if he's fit, and then you can decide between Saini, Chahar, and Thakur.
right.
I probably would pick Saini because he has a little bit more speed, so I think he can be a
Yeah.
little more effective. Cool.
Agreed. And I
So
think also the argument between one versus two spinners can be made based on the pitch, right? Because if you have pitch similar to the ones you've had in the test matches, or at least like in terms of the spin that you're getting, maybe better idea to play two spinners. But if you are playing more flatter pitches, maybe it's better idea to play more pace and have some extra batting.
yeah, that's fair. Okay, so let's do some predictions then. What are we thinking in terms of the T20s? What's the breakdown that you think we're going to get for the five T20s that we have right now?
I think it'll be close. It'll be 3-2 either way, to be honest. But it's going to be
Oh,
3-2 for
interesting.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm, but maybe that's always the case for me, but I think I'm actually a little bit more bullish on India's chances. I'm going to say 4-1 for India, which is a little bit of a more aggressive prediction, I guess, but that's what I'm expecting out of this. I'm expecting a 4-1 for India, and then I guess we'll try to talk about the ODIs closer to when we are there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's kind of the majority of the discussion on the T20s. I think we covered most of the bases. Anything additional that we should talk about, you think?
Maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about the England team, so maybe let's talk about
Yeah.
like a couple of players you're looking forward to. I can also come in and pitch in my thoughts.
That's a good point. So looking at the England squad, I think so. Morgan's obviously the captain. I probably both you and I are going to be looking forward to David Milan because we haven't
Yeah.
really seen him play in India ever. So obviously he'll be featuring in the IPL later as well. So David Milan definitely someone I'm looking forward to. Stokes is always someone to look forward to just because he's Stokes. Uh, I would say Moeen Ali. I'm a little bit interested in seeing as well how he does because I think he's definitely one of their limited over people who plays pretty regularly. So yeah,
Hmm.
Stokes, I would look forward to seeing what he can do. Joss Butler, always interesting in what he can do. And then I'm also curious to see if Jofra Archer actually ends up playing because he's been nursing that elbow injury that kind of keeps coming going in and out. So it'll be interesting to see if Archer plays. And I'm a little curious about what Mark Wood can do because he's supposed to have some good pace too. So interested in seeing what Mark Wood can do as well. And just to add one more at the end of that is Sam Curran because he did so well in the IPL. So interested in seeing what he can do as well. What
So
about you?
you're basically looking forward to the whole England T20 team.
A lot of them, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
curious. Like I think the one that I'm
Yeah.
most excited about are probably David Milan and to some extent Sam Curran. Those two are probably my picks for
Okay.
just kind of curious to see what happens.
Okay. So David Malan as well for me. Obviously, he's the number one T20 batsman, and also there was quite a bit of hype around IPL. So maybe he can show us a little bit what he's capable of in the T20. Other player for me is actually Joss Butler because he's
Hmm.
someone who always plays amazingly well in T20. This is his format. IPL he always delivers as well. So those are the two players for me. And now that I think about it, all the five players I've named so far, three from India, two from England, have all been batsmen. So uh, if
Yeah.
uh, if bowlers tend to do the better job between the two, then yeah, all my predictions are going wrong. But yeah, these are definitely the five players I'm looking forward to the most.
All right, cool. So that being said, sounds like we're in for an interesting T20 series. Very excited
Yeah.
for it, and we'll try to come back sometime in the middle of this T20 series and to report back what we're seeing here,
Hmm.
and share some reviews and what to look forward to. Anything to add to that, Babo?
Yeah, no, just looking forward to T20, one of my favorite formats. So really looking forward to that. Also, the fact that the game ends in about 3 hours makes it a little easier to watch. But yeah, looking forward to the results.
All right, that's it. Then we'll be back before long and see everyone soon.